Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this special coverage of President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi's attendance at the UN Climate Summit COP26 in Glasgow, Scotland, ahead of his participation at the landmark UN gathering. And dear viewers, we now go to a short break and we'll be back to our special reports and interviews. Stay tuned.
Egypt opens up to the world. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi meets with world leaders.
أعبر لكم عن خالص الشكر والتقدير على حفاوة الاستقبال وكرم الضيافة.
Reaffirming Egypt's vision, delivering our voice abroad.
لتطوير التعاون الثنائي الاقتصادي والعسكري إلى مستويات غير مسبوقة.
Discussing regional and international developments. Solid and strong relations on the path of partnership and development.
Welcome back, dear viewers, and now with our special reports. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi on Sunday arrived in the Scottish city of Glasgow to take part in the 2021 United Nations Climate Change Conference, COP26. Presidential spokesman Bassem Radi said that President Sisi's participation in the two-day summit comes upon an invitation from British Prime Minister Boris Johnson, whose country is to chair the event. More details in this report.
President Fattah el-Sisi on Sunday arrived in the Scottish city of Glasgow to take part in the 2021 United Nations Climate Change Conference, COP26. Presidential spokesman Bassem Radi said that President el-Sisi's participation in the two-day summit comes upon an invitation from British Prime Minister Boris Johnson, whose country is to chair the event. Radi added that Egypt was invited to attend the summit in light of its pivotal role at regional and international levels within the framework of climate change talks. The President focuses during the summit on issues of concern to developing countries in general and African states in particular, as well as means of pushing forward international efforts to combat climate change. The President also affirms Egypt's keenness on hosting the COP27 summit in November 2022. In early October, Egypt was selected as a nominee to host next year's event. The President is scheduled to hold a meeting with the British Premier on the sidelines of the summit to discuss means of strengthening bilateral ties and address a host of regional and international issues of mutual interest. The head of state is due to meet with a number of heads of state on the fringe of the summit to review means of boosting bilateral relations and tackling regional and international issues.
Welcome back, dear viewers, and we're delighted to be joined over the phone by Dr. Hussein Abaza, Consultant of Environmental Minister of Sustainable Development. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Sir, how do you see the significance of Egypt's participation in the UN Climate Change Summit, COP26, being held in Glasgow, Scotland?
No, I think this is it's a crucial meeting. Let me start off by saying this is a very important meeting now, especially when it comes at the point where we are hopefully getting out of the COVID-19. And I think it's very important that serious decisions on the part of the international community are taken to address not just the the COVID-19 crisis or pandemic, but of course the climate change, which is very much connected or related to the pandemic. And definitely the impact climate change and the pandemic has created in terms of negative impacts on achieving the sustainable development goals has to be addressed. And hopefully, we're looking forward for drastic decisions on the part of the international community to assist developing countries in particular, introduce measures including the right kind of technologies, environmentally sound technologies, support developing countries' efforts in capacity development, and of course financial support, which is a major impediment for addressing climate change concerns.
Right. Well, how can we address the adverse effects of climate change and reduce pollutant emissions?
Well, you see, I mean, I think the world has really acknowledged now, and it has to take major steps towards, for instance, removing fossil fuel subsidies. I mean, it's estimated that fuel subsidies amounted to around $6 trillion last year, and I think it's even much more now this year. And that has to stop. I mean, you need to stop, providing subsidies for fossil fuel and use these, funds for supporting renewable energy, sustainable consumption production patterns, and making a real shift and transformation towards a green economy, circular economy, nature-based solutions, approaches to accelerate sustainable development, and at the same time introduce the necessary measures to mitigate and at the same time, I mean, we're talking about mitigation and adaptation measures. They need to run in parallel, but of course, a lot of countries now, due to the impact of climate change, and we see this happening day in and day out, necessary measures need to be introduced to adapt to climate change.
Right.
And the impact it has on food security.
Yes. Dr. Abaza, to what extent does this summit emphasize the importance of providing sustainable and appropriate financing to developing countries to counter this phenomenon while providing the means of implementation of technology and capacity building?
As I was saying, I mean, the extra burden which is resulted from the pandemic has increased the indebtedness of developing countries. And at the same time, developing countries and emerging economies, they had to provide sufficient funding to address the COVID-19. Mm-hmm. So in addition to the fact that already, addressing climate change requires additional funding, but the fact the negative impact COVID-19 has caused has even exacerbated the problem. So that means that, the 100 billion, which was yearly contribution promised or pledged by developing countries, I think now, I'm afraid they may not be enough.
Right. Well, I would like to thank you very much, Dr. Hussein Abaza, Consultant of Environment Minister for Sustainable Development. Many thanks for your insight. And dear viewers, now we go to a short break and we'll be right back.
Be the first to know. The news live at the site of the event. Information on events as they are happening. If it's breaking news, it's Nile TV.
Welcome back, dear viewers, and still with our special reports and top stories. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi stressed that bringing settlement to regional crises can only be achieved by enforcing stability, restoring national states' sovereignty, supporting national institutions, and boosting the ability of national armies and central governments. President Sisi added that this would help in ending the activities of terrorist groups and extremist organizations. The statement of the head of state came during his meeting at his residence in Glasgow with Austrian Chancellor Alexander Schallenberg. Presidential spokesman Ambassador Bassam Radi said the president congratulated the Austrian Chancellor for assuming his new post. Radi added that President El-Sisi stressed Egypt's keenness on boosting bilateral cooperation with Austria in different fields in the frame of the historic ties between Egypt and Austria. For his part, the Austrian Chancellor said that he was honored to meet with President Sisi, highlighting his country's keenness to boost ties with Egypt, given her vital role in the stability and security of the Eastern Mediterranean region. Welcome back, dear viewers, and on this topic we're glad to be joined over the phone by Mr. Mustafa Slima, lecturer in sustainable management. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Hello.
Hello, sir. Sir, how do you see the significance of the Egypt's participation in the COP26 summit being held in Glasgow, Scotland, on climate change?
Okay, great. So first of all, thank you so much for inviting me for that interview. Actually, it's very important for Egypt to participate in that summit. As you know, Glasgow meeting, or which is called the COP26 climate conference, is an important step to finalize the controversial issues to reach an action plan to achieve the desired goals for the 2015 Paris Climate Agreement, and is being referred to be the last chance conference. I would say that to get the world leaders to agree on the mechanism or the tools to implement the steps required to keep global warming at least than 2 degrees, or preferably at 1.5 degrees.
Yes.
And where in the Paris 2015 climate conference, world leaders agreed on what needs to be done to reduce the global warming and reducing the greenhouse gas emissions and cutting down on the use of fossil fuels, were like the top items on the list of measures agreed upon in the Paris Agreement or Convention. And moreover, because of the slow level of implementation and the unsatisfactory results so far, so world leaders need to agree on a rule book or a guideline. I mean here a committed guidelines in Glasgow to secure a better and quick implementation of the 2015 agreement. Mm-hmm. Regarding the Egypt's participation, which is highly significant due to its crucial and important role at the regional and international level within the framework of the climate change, President El-Sisi, to underline Egypt's commitment to combat or to minimize the climate change and its threats, the need to divide responsibilities equitably among the countries of the world. And in fact, Egypt is growing more like concerned about the rise in the Mediterranean Sea's water level, which raises a serious threat or a question to the country's delta region. Global warming has also led to longer heat waves that are having a disturbing impact on our food crops and water supply. And Egypt actually is playing a key role in the success of the negotiations at the 24th Conference of the Parties in the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, which was held in December 2018, by sharing the group of the African negotiators and under the Egyptian presidency of the group of 77 and China. The negotiations actually achieved a positive result, reaching an agreement on the work program to implement the Paris Agreement. Moreover, Egypt is highly vulnerable to climate change, as you know, and faces many risks and threats. which you like consider as a threat or a threat to its environmental sustainability, and which can be like duplicated or doubled by its growing populations, increasing demands on an already limited resources, and the continuing decrease on its freshwater share per capita.
Yes.
And to address this issue, Egypt is targeting a number of goals, including work on changing consumption habits through education, public awareness, and moves towards building a circular economic model by expanding both recycling and reuse process. On the other hand, I could say Egypt is aiming to direct government spending towards green services and products to continue promoting the new trend towards green bonds and to foster a better understanding of the interrelationship between water, energy, food, and climate policies. And Egypt will continue the implementation of new policies for the development of the solid waste management system and will finalize the ambitious program to purify Egyptian lakes and to develop and maximize their utilization. It will also complete the program of the cleaning and lining of irrigation canals and drains within the national project, the Hayat Karima project, to deal effectively with the issue of water scarcity. Finally, on behalf of Africa, Egypt is expected to host the climate summit, or the COP27, in Sharm el-Sheikh in 2022.
Right. Well, sir, how important is modern technology in reducing the proportion of industrial waste as well as the rate of consumption of energy, water, and raw materials?
Okay, great. So, in fact, the need for responsible consumption and production is particularly critical for Egypt, as the country faces a scarcity in water and a challenge in food supply to meet local demands. And this scarcity is triggered or motivated by the increased demand due to population increase and a changing consumption patterns. Therefore, it has been a top priority to address responsible consumption and production for water, energy, and food security. The cross-cutting nature of responsible consumption and production also makes it like a transformative catalyst for attaining a circular economy and the formation of integrated sustainable communities. And let me illustrate that. For instance, to minimize energy consumption, the Ministry of Electricity and the Ministry of Petroleum and Marine Resources designed policies for the efficient consumption of electricity, as well as maximizing the use of new and renewable energy, in promoting energy saving lamps, awareness to consumers, showing a positive behavior in electricity conservation, and choosing the available friendly alternatives such as the land lamps. And secondly, and which is like an important step, Egypt launched the National Water Resources Plan from 2017 to 2037, I mean for 20 years, which directed and led by the Ministry of Irrigation and Water Resources. And the project covered the plans. I mean, it includes 4 pillars, or covers 4 pillars. Number 1 is rationalize the water use, especially in agriculture, and improve the water quality and expand the treatment of wastewater, and developing water resources, and finally creating an enabling environment. And under this strategy, various projects are being implemented right now to increase the capacity of the water management system, and within a huge cost or budget to reach 900 billion Egyptian pounds. And these projects include wastewater treatment, seawater desalination, and rehabilitation and lining of canals, and switching from service to modern irrigation system and agriculture. Moreover, solid waste management is a sector in which there is like a significant potential for improvement. And in fact, in 2017, it's estimated that about 1.2 kg.
Right. Well, I would like to thank you very much, Mr. Mustafa Slema, lecturer in sustainable development. Dear viewers, now we move to a live transmission. We're now moving to a live transmission